Here in Baltimore, the City Police Department has announced it is receiving help now from the Maryland National Guard. The Guard will be transporting resources and personnel downtown, and that's where we go right now. We have live team coverage of what's happening in Baltimore tonight. WMAR 2 News' Ray Strickland standing by at City Police Headquarters, but we want to go to Eddie Kadam, who is live at the protest at City Hall. And Eddie, you have some new developments to tell us about.
Yeah, Jamie, in just the last hour, things did start to escalate a bit. This has been a peaceful protest all day. We've been hearing from community leaders that they are proud of the fact that they were able to keep it peaceful, but we did see some fireworks going off. We saw police possibly letting off flashbangs. Now we've got a crowd here. They were just taking a knee a moment ago, asking the police in riot gear to do the same. We have one of the men here who has been trying to keep the peace. Akil, tell me, it's been, in a lot of people's eyes, a success the start of the day. Things kind of started escalating late. What are you hoping? What are you hoping for right now?
So what we're really hoping for is that, number one, that we continue the de-escalation techniques. Like I said, there are multiple people that have been part of this initiative. Catalina Bird, Brandon Scott, Chris Burnett, even my opponent in the 13th district. We've all come together because we're trying to keep the peace. The problem that has occurred now is that we've seen a significant drift in people that were Baltimore City residents around here, that people are now coming prepared for battle, which means that they are not the city residents that were part of those peaceful protests earlier. So we're making sure we're encouraging Baltimore City residents to be mindful and vigilant of those outsiders. And what we're saying is look, we want you to be part of a movement, but we don't want you to be here and become part of the problem, starting stuff with the police. Now, we've made sure that the police officers that were out front today were police officers that we've been working with. We've talked to Sergeant Bailey and other people because, Sergeant Bailey lives here. He's from Baltimore. His kids graduated from these schools, so we know these people.
You saw him taking a knee.
Yeah, they took knees with us. So these people have been with us, and we are not the same as Minnesota. What we are saying is since 2015, we have made significant improvements to our city, and we will not allow a bunch of rebel rousers from outside the city of Baltimore to come in and want to cause, upset. Look, I get it. I'm mad as anybody else. My platform is defunding the Baltimore City Police Department and reallocating funds somewhere else.
We're going to look over here. Yeah. That's okay. Just take a look at what we're looking at, guys. So this is the scene right now. What streets are we on right now? I'm sorry, I've been walking around so much. City Hall's behind us. But right, Guilford, wrong, Fayette and Guilford corner here. This is where police in riot gear have come up, formed a line, and then in front of them are a group of protesters. This is a much smaller group than what we saw earlier, but still a pretty significant group. Definitely the thousands we saw earlier. So I want to show you just some of what we saw earlier, the protests that were peaceful earlier, and it's been some peace for about an hour now, but let's just take a look at what we saw earlier.
Black lives matter! Black lives matter! Black lives matter!
Their voices echoed through the streets for miles.
Say his name! George Floyd!
We're sick of the brutality. We want it to end. We want it to end peacefully.
Walking and chanting underneath and on top of the JFX.
This has become a reality. This has become a reality, and this is normal. And I hated that, and I had a deep feeling. So I needed something to make me feel again.
Take a knee, officers!
They called on police to kneel with them, and their call was heard.
That Baltimore can unite. We is one.
Names that many felt could have just as easily been their own.
That could be any of my family members. It could be my brother. It could be my cousin. It could be my sister. It could be anybody, And I feel for him, And I feel for his family.
So what specifically I was seeing as I've been out here for the last couple hours, I saw some people fighting in the streets. I saw fireworks going off. I heard some type of large bangs going off. And I'm going to send it back to you guys, but this is a look right outside City Hall right now. Eddie Kadam, WMAR 2 News.
All right, we'll come back to you if you need us there, Eddie. Thank you. And tonight, WMAR 2 News' Ray Strickland covered one of the protests that started at Douglas Homes, where a couple hundred protesters marched to the police department and other parts of our city tonight. And there were a lot of first-time protesters out there, but Ray has a story about one who's fought for change for 6 decades. Ray joins us live. Can't wait to hear this story from Baltimore City Police Headquarters tonight. Ray.
And Jamie, before I get to that, I do want to tell you what's happening outside of the Baltimore City Police Department right now. It is quiet down here as protesters, of course, are still up the road at City Hall. As you can see behind me, if you can, there are Baltimore City police officers behind those barricades in front of the police department here in riot gear, of course, guarding the building just in case some of these protesters make their way back down to the police department. But again, it is quiet out here and it's been peaceful. All of the protests have been peaceful throughout the day, which of course is good news for the city of Baltimore. Now, I do want to talk about what, Jamie, you were just referring to, the woman that has been fighting for change for 6 decades. Now, take a look. This is a video of one of the protests that she was leading today. This is the one that started, as you said, Jamie, at Douglas Homes. From there, about a couple hundred protesters then marched to the police department and throughout the city, chanting "No justice, no peace," among other things. But they also named people who were killed by police, including, of course, George Floyd, as well as Freddie Gray. Someone, again, who stood out, Jamie, we just talked about her. She is Reverend Ann Chambers. This woman, again, has been fighting for change for decades. She's marched with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. She told me, and this is really mind-blowing, that she believes racism is worse now than it was back then. Here's what she had to say earlier today.
How long do you kill our children, kill our babies, kill our mothers, fathers, sisters and brothers, and we take it? We won't take no more. We're fed up.
And not only were these protesters demanding justice for George Floyd, but they were also demanding justice for a Baltimore woman who was punched by a Baltimore police sergeant. That sergeant is suspended, but Jamie, these protesters want him fired. Back to you, Jamie.